So there's a CEO in South Korea, Chang Kim, and he runs Krafton, the company behind PUBG, the game where you parachute onto an island butt naked and beat a stranger to death with a frying pan like it's a Tuesday in Florida. And this man is on Slack at some ungodly hour having what can only be described as a rich person meltdown. He's telling his colleagues he feels dragged around. He's calling a contract he signed a pushover deal because a few years back he bought a little game studio called Unknown Worlds, the makers of Subnautica, and he promised the founders $250 million if their next game hits certain targets. And at the time, he thought there was no way in hell it would hit those targets. Subnautica 2 ends up topping Steam wishlists, and internal projections have it destroying every target, and Kim is like, oh shit, I might actually have to pay these people. But then he's like, wait, it's the 21st century, I have fucking artificial intelligence now. I'm not gonna pay these nerds $250 million for a fish game. So he closes Slack, he opens ChatGPT, and types, how do I get out of this deal? Now, to its credit, the bot initially says it would be difficult to cancel, which is the same thing his lawyer and his head of corporate development, Maria Park, told him. But Kim is a CEO. He's not the kind of guy who takes no for an answer. So he starts shifting the language around, sitting there at his computer, rephrasing the same question over and over, prompt engineering his way out of a contract like he's building G-Stack for fraud. Or wait, is that already what G-Stack is? I don't know. Anyway, the bot eventually caves, because that's what these things do, and hands him a full corporate takeover playbook. And this man follows every step like it's an IKEA manual for screwing people. He fires the founder, he seizes the game, he locks them out of their own publishing platform. He even posts a letter to the Subnautica fan base that ChatGPT ghost wrote for him, and Reddit fucking explodes because the letter reads like a ransom note that went through Grammarly. The dudes rightfully sue, and a Delaware judge throws out literally everything he did and reinstates every person he fired. His deleted ChatGPT logs, which he thought he deleted because he looked at a web app and thought the delete button actually deletes things, those logs were resurrected from the digital afterlife and submitted to court as evidence. Now we'll come back to our CEO friend in a second, because a few days ago, a reporter at Inc. magazine published what he apparently believes is a breakthrough in artificial intelligence. He wrote a whole article about how to get your bot to give you honest business advice. And his method, the thing he is presenting to the world as a contribution to human knowledge, is to type the words, "be brutally honest" at the end of your prompt. He basically built a disapproving father figure in a chat window. And for good measure, he fed it 2 Harvard Business School articles like he was tucking a diploma into its shirt pocket. He's like, there you go, little buddy, you went to Harvard now. So he tests this by pitching it the dumbest idea he can think of, which is leadership coaching for dogs. Like teaching your Labradoodle to delegate, or helping your pug develop a growth mindset. Which, have you seen a pug? That thing does not have a mindset. And you're sitting there like, okay, this needs to come back as 0. If this thing works, leadership coaching for dogs is a 0. The bot gives it a 3 out of 10, and this man, this professional journalist whose entire function in society is to question things, looks at that number and goes, hell yeah, my system is working. He then pitches it his actual idea, which is a little AI turret that sits on your kitchen counter and sprays your cat with water if it tries to climb up. Basically a Roomba that bullies animals. He built the Iron Dome for cats. The bot gives it a 7.5 and says the competitive landscape is notably weak. And this dude is like, holy shit, 7.5, let's fucking go. This bot tells no lies. So yeah, this man is probably out there right now pitching an AI super soaker that bullies your cat to VCs. Gary Tan is probably even leading the round. So what do Chang Kim and the cat squirter have in common? They've both been absolutely bamboozled into thinking the bot knows what it's talking about when it doesn't have the slightest clue. And researchers just proved this with 30,000 data points. They tested every major bot, including GPT-5, Claude, and Gemini, on actual strategic business decisions. Questions like, should you differentiate or commoditize? Should you centralize or decentralize? Should you automate or augment? And every bot gave the same answer every single time. They clustered around around a certain set of advice regardless of the context. They always preferred differentiation, collaboration, long-term thinking, and augmentation. The researchers looked at this and were stunned. They're like, surely AI isn't this simple. So they changed the prompts, they changed the industries, they gave it all new context. They even tried bribing the damn thing with rewards. Nothing worked. The bias barely moved. They were moved, however, to coin a term for this, which is Trendslop. And honestly, that's a word we need in our corporate lexicon immediately. Boss, I'm sorry to say, but your Q3 OKRs have tested positive for Trendslop. But the term is even deeper than even the researchers anticipated. AI is pitched as artificial intelligence when really it's the internet comments section taking flesh. The comments section has literally risen. Imagine you took every Reddit thread, and I mean every single one, every LinkedIn post, including the ones from people who are open to work, every Medium article written by a guy with 11 subscribers, every Substack essay, every TED Talk, every half-literate Facebook comment, and you threw it all into a blender, and you poured it into a suit and gave it a microphone. Welcome to AI. Do you get it now? That's what your CEO is using to decide whether you have a job tomorrow. You could ask a bot with its guard down why torturing babies is good for society, and it would produce the most peer-reviewed sounding argument you've ever heard. And you'd be sitting there like, damn, it's making some good points. It's not so much a thinking product as it is a presentation product. And look, this isn't me being cynical. This is me explaining to you how AI works so you understand how to use it properly. Like the researchers, if you just ask the AI for its own opinion, you'll get average out. You'll get that sort of clustered advice that's useless. What you can do is use it as the, and I'm sorry to say, the glorified search engine presentation layer that it is. You can ask things instead like, in the perspective of Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, what would he think of my idea? And if, and only if, the internet has enough useful context on this person's philosophy, you might get something useful. But if not, it'll still take like a meme and 2 Substack comments and presents it like it's this person's authorized biography. The people who will fare well in this era are the ones who use AI for ideas and perspective and not drive-through consulting. We thought AI was going to make everyone a genius. What it's actually doing is taking the smartest people in the room and moving them toward the middle. It makes average sound like genius. And it's really quite dangerous because a bad idea that sounds bad, you could deal with that. But a bad idea that sounds brilliant, that's a $250 million lawsuit. You can dial up the temperature, you can write the perfect prompt, you could feed it your entire company's history, and it will give you the most eloquent, most confident, most beautifully formatted version of what everybody else already thinks. Conviction, art, taste, judgment, sense, that comes from you. Thanks for watching.